everyone. Welcome to Life Redefined Season 2, an online film discussion where we're sharing inspiring stories of young adult brain tumor survivors. Thank you for joining us today. This event has been generously sponsored by Selectpath Professional Financial Services. Thank you, Selectpath. We appreciate the support. I'm Amanda Hutter, Support Services Specialist at Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada. With me throughout the event is the talented Dr. Mike Lang, Digital Storytelling Specialist. And today we have with us Natasha Bilau. Thank you for being here and sharing your story, Natasha. I hope I didn't butcher your last name.
You were close. You were very close. It's Bilau.
There we go.
Great.
That's all right.
It happens all the
time. Awesome. Great. Well, thanks, Amanda. Well, here we are. Our final story of the Life Redefined Season 2. And man, I'm really excited to be ending with Natasha, because she has such a powerful story. And there's an added twist of being a nurse who became a patient, right? And so we'll get to hear all about that in a second. But before we do, I just wanted to remind everyone to think about one thing that resonates with you in Natasha's story as you watch it. It could be a word, a phrase, an image, or an idea that stands out to you. But, please put it in the chat below so that we can all learn from each other as we learn from Natasha's story. So you ready to go, Tash?
Sure am.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Here's her story.
My friends were waiting for me in the hallway outside of my room as my mom and I turned the corner to the acute care section of the emergency department. I walked down the hallway I had worked in for almost 5 years. I cared for patients in these rooms for so long, they were like home to me. As I walked past everyone in their blue scrubs, I could see tears in their eyes. They all hugged me as if I was walking to the gallows. I was thinking, what's wrong with everyone? And why are they crying? That's when I realized it was out of fear and concern for me. Me. They no longer saw me as the strong, sarcastic friend and nurse they all knew. Now I was a patient whose life was on the line. As I sat in my hospital bed, I thought back through the past month. Plagued by headaches, I had thought through my symptoms and done neurological checks. I had no symptoms of a tumor. That's why it was such a surreal moment as I sat in an office with my friend and fellow nurse, and my mom. I read the words on the screen in front of me and knew my life was about to change. The report read, massive malignant appearing mass in right frontal lobe. As I finished reading, my friend started to cry, and my mom looked at me like I was about to die in front of her. I stood and hugged her. Everything is fine, Mom. I will be fine. Surgery was booked only 3 days after my walk to the gallows. I had no time to process or research anything, so I wasn't scared. I knew that the surgeon would take care of me and left myself in his hands. On the Sunday before surgery, my friends and colleagues came over to provide care packages, support, and to shave my head. I was sitting in the kitchen after everyone had left when I began to process the changes in my life plans. My husband and I had just been married months before. Now we had to consider what would happen if things went badly. As we talked about end-of-life measures, I couldn't get the thought out of my mind that I might no longer be an equal partner in our relationship, but a burden. Thankfully, the surgery went well. I surprised us all by recovering quickly. I went back to the gym, stayed active at home, and decided to choose gratitude every day. I used to be consumed by the chaos at work and was hardly home. Now, I wake up each day and I find joy. It could be a rainbow on the floor, the moon, a baby smiling on my walk, or my husband singing in the shower. I'm soaking in the moments I have, and I'm no longer addicted to chaos. Now, I choose to view myself as a strong, resilient, and loving person. I'm not a burden because I have too much to give to others. I'm choosing to see things differently. This diagnosis doesn't come with an end. There isn't a remission. I know I won't give up. I do love who I'm becoming, and I'm excited to continue to learn who the new Tash is. I'm a more present daughter, wife, mom, and friend. I'm still me, but better. I am all I was, and a brain tumor survivor who doesn't take anything for granted. There is no end to this story, but I will continue to live, learn, and love.
Awesome, man. What a story. I love the bell at the end. You can see how emotional you are in that
Yeah.
moment, right? And man, it just speaks to how challenging that really is, to go through something like that. So, wow. Well, Tash, for me, what really stands out for me is, the walk to the gallows, down the hallway. And I remember when you first shared that, I was like, wow, what a moment, because nothing has changed, but everything has changed. It's the same hallway, same people, but the way that they're looking at you has changed, right? And man, I thought maybe you could just start by talking a little bit more about that. The metaphor of the eyes and the way people see you and the way you see yourself. Where did that come from as you were creating your story?
Well, I started out by just brainstorming like the different moments throughout this experience that stood out the most to me, and that moment was the one that stood out the most and was just the most emotional to me, because it was when I had just found out what happened, that I found out that I had the tumor, and then not only was I grappling with the idea that, you know, I read my own report and, figured out myself that I have a malignant tumor. Um, and it felt very unreal. Like it was
Mm,
just kind of, um, it was happening to somebody else in that moment.
mm,
But I think it really registered that it was actually my moment and my MRI and my tumor, that I was reading about when I saw everybody standing in the hallway to support me.
mm,
And it just showed, I think, the amount of love and support that I have around me, and also the level of concern that rightfully came with the diagnosis. So that was a earth-shattering moment, I'd say.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Just a follow-up question, I guess, for that. Sort of had this shock when you're like, they're looking at me
Mhm.
as a patient. And so what was that like, that transition from, working there to now being treated there?
It was complicated. Um, because I worked really hard to get into emergency. I had started off in psychiatry initially, and it took me quite a few tries of applying over and over again for years in order to get my foot in the door in emergency. And I built an identity around being an emergency nurse because it's something I've always wanted to do, and kind of in this moment, I realized like I wouldn't be able to for a while. Um, and now I'm not caring for somebody in my situation. I am the person in this situation that needs care, which has always been difficult for me to accept, I think, through my whole life. The idea of letting other people take care of me or being vulnerable is not something that I'm used to. So it's
Yeah.
something that's taught me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're gonna get to some of the ways that you've changed in a minute, but
Yeah.
I love you talk a lot about that at the end, so we'll get to that. But I wanted to bring Amanda in here and just say, Amanda, what really stood out to you as you were watching the story?
One of the things that stood out to me is you mentioned navigating like the equal and equal partnership.
Mm,
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that as well. And I'm just curious, like how was that for you from like
Yeah.
when you first kind of found out until now?
mm,
So that has also been difficult in that I'm not even used to being like cared for and vulnerable with like my husband. But now I've become comfortable in that role. And so we're able to have a lot of really good conversations about like how I'm feeling about things, and he's the person that listens to me, and gives me the space to feel the feelings that I need to be feeling. And I've learned to let go of some of the kind of type A part of my personality, in that I don't have, the control over his feelings either. So I also just have to like meet him where he is. And I feel like it's actually strengthened our relationship, in
Yeah.
that we're able to really openly communicate with each other, and make sure that we're supporting each other in whatever capacity the other needs.
Mm. Yeah.
So that's been nice.
Yeah, that's sort of cool. And at the end, you talk about a lot of those things, right? You talk
Yeah.
about the dreams that you had, and sort of the expectations for your life. And then at the end, you say, "I'm still me, but better." And
Mhm.
I really love that line. And so tell us a little bit more. In what ways are you better? And
Yeah.
yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Um, so I think I've taken this as a sign that, I need to be kind of more comfortable and authentically myself, because this is the life that I have, and it could be taken away at any moment. Um, and although that's terrifying, and I still have to grapple with that reality most days, that this might change even more than it already has. And so I've learned to present like a whole version of myself,
Mm,
um, to those around me who want to be in on it. Like that's kind of what I've taken from that. So I feel like I'm now more present, and I look for joy and love, and I try and put out as much joy and love as I can, because I think that that's really all that you can do in order to make like the world around you a little bit brighter. And if
mm.
I can